council stipulate, please?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Reich, I think that when we left off, you had gone back into work as a realtor, but you were still working on projects of the, from the Ford Group, is that right?
That's correct.
Were there any specific properties that you were the exclusive agent for after you left Ford Group? Let's limit it to Farmington in case there are more.
I believe it was just, I can't remember if I lost 80 Mountain Spring temporarily. I remember I kept 585 Deercliff, and then I did resume 80 Mountain Spring.
So let's just talk briefly about 585 Deercliff. I'm not going to show you a map. The jury has seen the maps of the area several times. So where in relation to Jefferson Crossing was 585 Deercliff?
If you exit Jefferson Crossing, you would make a right, and that would be Deercliff. If you make a left on Jefferson, that's Eli. So you would make a right, it's probably a quarter of a mile down the street on the left on the view side.
Where approximately was the town line between Farmington and Avon in relation to Jefferson Crossing?
If you make a right out of Jefferson Crossing, it was very shortly after that, within 100 feet, I believe.
And 585 was in Avon?
Correct.
And 80 Mountain Spring was in
Farmington.
Farmington. When you were how long was it that you remained the real estate agent for marketing of 585 Deercliff?
Until it was sold.
Do you know when it was sold?
I don't know the exact date, but within the last 2 years.
So since 2019.
Yes, correct.
Can you describe what condition that property was in prior to it being sold?
Significant disarray.
Do you know why?
Fotis's mother died at that location, and previously he had used it for, like, when he had friends from Greece come over. His mom lived there at some point. I believe after that event happened, he just kind of let the place go. In all honesty, it was a tear down anyway. Like, that house more than likely would be purchased, and then it would be demolished and a new home would be constructed on that piece of property.
Was it a choice piece of real estate?
Stunning, beautiful.
Could you just describe for the jury, because I don't think they've seen that aspect of it.
It's a 4.49 acre parcel in Avon, 550 feet of road frontage on Deercliff, which is, one of the nicer streets in the area. And it had just, sweeping views of the Farmington Valley. So views, location, acreage, road frontage, kind of had it all.
Was it was it facing the west?
It's facing west. So you're on top of the mountain looking west, looking down on the Farmington Valley.
And
So
the property itself, was there a significant drop off that permitted these views?
yes.
Could you just describe that rather for the jury?
Well, you had the house and then you had a backyard and then it dropped off significantly.
A cliff?
I wouldn't say a cliff, but yeah, pretty steep.
Was it at the top of Avon Mountain?
It was, yes.
You said that you had 80 Mountain Spring as are you under contract, or you were the realtor for that property as well?
Correct.
You said you lost it for a period of time?
After I was terminated, I believe he gave it to somebody else, and then I believe I did reacquire the listing, and then subsequently sold it.
Were you the listing agent in 2019 for 80 Mountain Spring?
Yes.
Were you familiar with the work that was being done to convert 80 Mountain Spring into a property to be sold?
Absolutely, yes.
Could you indicate to the jury a little bit about the property? They've seen photographs, they've seen aerial and drone footage, but could you describe what this house was and how it was converted?
Well, I did sell the property to the Ford Group from the original owners of that. Well, I don't know if they were the original owners, but I represented Ford Group to purchase the property. the house was very dated, needed a lot of updating. Some of the rooms were very choppy. On the third floor, there were like 5 or 6 bedrooms, a living room, kind of very small. I mean, it's a 100-year-old house. So we purchased the home, Group purchased the home, hired a well-known architect from Fairfield County, and did just a complete remodel of the house. I mean, top to bottom, everything was redone.
Was the house demolished or was it reconstructed and expanded? Could you explain?
Reconstructed and expanded. The original house had a 2-car garage that was actually below grade, so you would park underneath the house and have to go upstairs to get to the main level. What Group did was they added a 4-car garage on the east side of the house and had a very large bonus room above that. So they added a 4-car, they got rid of the basement garages, added a 4-car garage plus the bonus room above that 4-car garage as an addition to the original home.
How much acreage did that property have?
I don't know exactly, but around 7.5 to 8 acres in total.
Do you know whether or not that house in May of 2019 was completed? That is, was construction completed?
It was, yes.
Was it being marketed at that time?
It was, yes.
Had there been showings of that house?
Yes, there was.
Incidentally, if there was a showing for the purchase of the house, were you present usually?
If the listing came through the MLS, if there was another agent that wanted their client to see the house, I would be notified because I would have to approve of the showing per se. And Fotis did insist that the listing agent be present at all showings. It makes it a lot easier to talk about the highlights of the house. And there was so much work that was done. He felt, and I felt as well, it would be vital to have me there to kind of explain the work that was done, all the attributes of the house, and answer any questions. So on showings that were originated per se through the MLS, I would be present.
Were there times when a real estate agent might show that property to someone that you were not present for?
The only circumstance that would be is if Fotis was showing that house as a representative sample of what a custom home could be. So if there was a client that was interested in building a custom home, they could, sometimes Fotis would show him that house to say, clearly for this case, not the outside, but on the inside, this is the quality of our work.
In other words, they would not be seeking to sell that house, that property through a different agent. They would show it as a representative of his work. Is that what I understand?
Correct. And they've done that with Fort Jefferson, and they've done that, could be any of the properties.
In fact, was Fort Jefferson Crossing for sale technically at the time that Fotis was living there in May of 2019?
I'm not 100% sure.
If there was a for sale sign out front, would that suggest that
yes.
It's shown in
Yeah,
videos?
it had been on and off the market, yeah.
Okay. When you worked for the Ford Group, how often would Fotis be in the office when you were there?
Most times, unless he was traveling, he was usually there.
Did he work long hours that you observed?
Sometimes.
When you came in, what time did you usually come in when you worked there?
8:30, 9 o'clock.
And when you came in, did you often see him there already at work?
Yes.
And after you left in the evening, what time did you usually leave?
4:30 to 6 o'clock, depending on what we were doing.
And when you were working there, was Fotis still often working after you left to go home?
Sometimes, yes.
You said he traveled. Would you just tell us a little bit about how often he traveled while you were working there?
Towards the end, when I was working there, travel definitely increased. Miami, go skiing, competing. I know he went internationally to competitions, but it seemed at the end he traveled more.
While you were still working there, did you ever have conversations with him about whether his children would be competing?
He did mention, I believe some of the children did compete. I think Petros and Theodore did.
Water skiing?
Yes.
Was that nationally or internationally, if you know?
I don't know. I think maybe both, but I'm not 100% sure.
Did you know the Dulos children?
Yes.
Was the office part of the house, or did it have kind of a separate space and entrance?
It was a part of the house. I mean, they designed that house to have a home office. There was kind of an employee subcontractor entrance on the right side of the portico share, which is the breezeway, which goes from the front to the back of the house to that parking area. So we would always enter the house through that door on the right side, up the stairs and into the office. But then you could get to the main house from, I think the east side of the office went to one kind of sitting area on the second floor. You go down the hallway to the bedrooms, or there was a staircase down, which went to the mudroom and towards the kitchen.
When you were working there, did the employees tend to wander into the residential portion of the house?
No.
It was basically separate?
Well, I mean, you could physically walk there. We just, we didn't.
I want to ask you specifically now about whether or not you continue to socialize with Fotis after you became the realtor and were no longer working for him?
I did, yes.
What kind of socialization or social activities did you engage in with him at that point? That is
Go
after you left?
go out to dinner or go to the house once in a while.
And at the time, did you have a partner?
Yes, Beth.
Okay, could you just indicate, Beth, what's her whole name?
Beth Johnson Reich.
Are you now married to her?
No.
Would you socialize together with Beth and with Fotis?
Sometimes with both of us, sometimes independently.
Do you recall a time sometime in 2017 when Michelle Troconis had moved into the house?
Yes,
Did you ever see her when you were at the office for real estate related matters?
I believe so.
Did you talk with her?
I'm sure I did. Yeah,
Did you socialize with her and Fotis?
I did.
Did you socialize with her separately, that is you and Beth, with Michelle without Fotis?
No.
How would you describe your relationship with Michelle Troconis after she had become part of the whole household?
I mean, I think I've only met her 6, 7, 8 times, but it was always positive, friendly. I mean,
Was there a time in 2019 where Mr. Dulos would talk to you about the status of his custody battle or custody dispute with Jennifer?
Objection. Calls for hearsay.
Well, it calls for a yes or no answer, or perhaps the witness does not remember, but at this point, it does not call for hearsay. So overruled.
he did, yes.
Could you just describe what in general he would say about the process to you? And it's not being offered for the truth, it's the fact that it was said.
Well,
Objection.
the court understands the phrase, it's not being offered for the truth, but if the court cannot see other than being offered for the truth, the court is going to sustain the objection. What did he say about the custody battle? If it's not offered for the truth, what is it offered for?
It's being offered to show how Mr. Dulos was projecting his optimism towards the situation, and that's the purpose, not to the actual truth.
Well, then the question is, first question that was asked, did he discuss with you the custody matters that concerned him? The answer was yes. The next question, based on what counsel said, need not deal with content. It's his response to whatever custody issues were occurring at the time. For example, this is just the court's view to avoid a hearsay objection. Was he aggravated? Was he happy? Was he enthusiastic? Was he expectant?
All right, let me ask a question that would encompass what the judge's concerns are.
Okay.
Did you, the preliminary question is, did you have such conversations with him about it?
Yes,
That would be in around April and May of 2019?
even before, but
But in that time frame, could you, using as opposed to his words, could you describe his demeanor, attitude, his outlook about it?
can you put a time frame
Yeah.
on that? Because
End of
I've
April
seen
into
different
May.
emotions,
Yes, April into May of 2019, that time frame.
positive emotion.
Did there come a time, did you become aware, at least, that there had been a report that had been issued, without going into what it is, that there had been a report on the custody matter that he had seen?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Did there come a time when you were invited to dinner in May of 2019?
Yes.
Could you tell the jury a little bit about how that came about?
We were actually supposed to have dinner with them on the Tuesday prior to Thursday.
So that we're clear, are we talking about the week that, or did you become aware at some point that Jennifer Dulos had been reported missing?
Yes.
Would this have been in that week just prior to that?
When we had dinner,
When you had the discussions about dinner?
that would have been the week before we actually had that dinner on that Thursday night.
Okay. So how did it come about? You were just beginning to say you were supposed to have it on a different.
We were supposed to have dinner on Tuesday, and then I mixed up the custody schedule with the kids. So that week, we have alternating schedule with the kids. So one week we'll have them Monday, Tuesday, one week we want it Monday, Tuesday. So we had the kids Monday, Tuesday, we were supposed to have dinner on Tuesday. I let them know that I mixed it up, I can't do it. We don't have the kids Wednesday, Thursday, but Beth coaches her kids' soccer team, so would Thursday work? So he said, yeah, come over, Thursday, 5 o'clock, we'll come to his house, we were gonna look at some rugs for Michelle, and then the plan was to go to a Japanese restaurant in Avon.
Now, there was, just to clarify, when you talk about visitation and custody, we're talking about your children, not Mr. Dulos.
Yes, correct, yes,
Okay. So the plan was set to get together at what time?
5 o'clock.
And were there email exchanges with regard to that?
There was text message exchanges, yeah,
Can you tell me whether or not, well, who did you go with, first of all?
with Beth.
Do you know approximately what time you arrived?
I don't know exactly, but if we were supposed to be there at 5, I probably would have got there at 5 or a couple minutes before.
When you first arrived, where did you first see Fotis Dulos when you arrived?
I was heading north on Eli towards Jefferson Crossing. And prior to us entering Jefferson Crossing and making a right into Jefferson Crossing, Fotis was leaving. So I passed him on Eli Road prior to entering Jefferson Crossing.
Prior to passing him, did you stop and have some conversation near the intersection?
Yes,
Could you just tell the jury what that was about?
Objection.
Well, what the conversation was about is just, what was the topic? The court will allow that overruled.
He just said, oh, I'll be right back. Go head on over and I'll see you in a little bit.
Did you say anything to him about him leaving at that moment?
But yeah, I mean, he was like notoriously late. We used to call it Fotis time, so I was like, oh, classic Fotis, I'm coming and he's leaving. And he said he'll be back shortly and, head on in.
When you said that if the time was 5, you would have been there at that time or earlier, did you have a habit with regard to punctuality?
Yeah, I'd like to be punctual.
Was there any reason that you would have been delayed or not be punctual that day?
It's possible, but not likely.
So when he left, did you continue on to the house?
Yes.
And did you go to Fort Jefferson?
Yes, we did.
You pulled into the driveway?
Mhm.
Did you pull into the back?
Into the back, yes.
So just tell us what you did when you went in.
Went in and I think we greeted Michelle and I don't remember exactly play by play, but we did. But she was selling these like really cool rugs from South America, like kind of cowhide rugs. So we went early to purposely just go and look at the rugs to potentially purchase. And then the plan was to go to dinner.
And we being who exactly?
Beth and I.
You said the plan was to go out to dinner originally, is that right?
That's correct.
Did you end up going out to dinner?
No, we did not.
Would you tell the jury what actually happened in terms of, did you eat? Let's start with that. Did you get to eat?
Yes, we ate dinner
All right,
there.
would you
Yes.
explain the circumstances, how that came about?
What came about?
How you ended up eating? Where did you eat?
We ate outside on the patio.
What did you have?
We had steak, French fries, and a salad.
Now, Mr. Dulos told you in the intersection on Eli Road that he'd be right back. Did he come right back?
I believe he came back shortly thereafter, yes.
Did he stay or did he go out again?
No, he did go out again.
What was the circumstances where he went out again?
He said he needed to get more meat to, facilitate cooking for everybody.
Did you see him leave?
I maybe saw him left the house. I didn't see him depart, but yeah.
Did he come back at some point?
Yes.
Do you know how long approximately he was out?
I don't know. Half an hour, something like that. I don't know.
Incidentally, are you familiar with what's called the Little Stop and Shop in West Hartford?
Yes, I am.
In relation to where Fort Jefferson Crossing is, can you tell us whether that would be the closest grocery store?
Trying to think of the closest.
Before you, let me ask a different question first. There's now a Whole Foods in Avon, is that right?
That's correct.
Was it finished and operating in 2019?
No, it was not.
Okay, so if that didn't exist, would the Little Stop and Shop in West Hartford be the closest?
Distance-wise, it might in fact be.
Okay. You don't know which store he went to?
I do not know.
Do you recall whether he came back with some meat to grow?
Well, he said he was going to get meat. I mean, we all ate meat, so I assumed he came back with me.
So when he came back, what did you do?
We were outside, probably cooking on the grill, having a drink, talking.
How would you describe the atmosphere during that dinner?
Positive.
When you say positive, what do you mean?
It was a normal dinner party. I mean, we were talking, laughing, talking about real estate, joking around. I mean, it was just like, it was a normal evening.
Did Mr. Dulos at all talk, well, what did he talk about?
Objection. Hearsay. Again.
Well,
Your Honor, it's not being offered for the truth. It's,
if the question is what topics came up, we're going to allow that.
What topics? We talked about real estate. We talked about politics. I mean, just a bunch of different topics. I don't remember exactly what was said and like throughout the evening, but it was just a normal evening.
did he talk about his children?
Yeah. He loves his children. He misses his children.
What was his air or his attitude about things with his children?
He was of the belief that things were getting better as far as the potential custody of his children.
And did he seem happy or sad?
No, that night he seemed happy.
Were people at this, and did anyone else come to dinner that night?
Yes.
Who else came?
Hutch Haynes and his wife, Erin.
And again, was the atmosphere similar when they were there?
Yes.
Were people laughing?
Yes.
Were they eating?
Yes.
Was Fotis known to be a good cook?
Yes.
Did he do the cooking?
He did the cooking.
Did he make a salad?
He made the salad dressing. I don't know if he made the salad, but
Okay. You said French fries. Was there anything particular about Fotis Dulos' French fries?
I'm going to object at this point, Your Honor.
Sustained,
Did he have a special machine to make French fries?
Objection.
sustained.
How long were you there that evening at the house?
probably till around 10:15.
And after were you the last couple to leave, or did the Haynes leave
No,
first?
the Haynes left first, and then we helped clear all the stuff from the table. I think Beth and Michelle did the dishes, and I think we left shortly after that.
And did you continue to talk with Fotis while you were cleaning up?
I would imagine so, yeah.
Did either he or Michelle disappear for a period of time during this dinner party?
No.
Was the atmosphere the same even at the end, after dinner, after you were cleaning up?
Yes.
Was there anything at all at the time that you could think of that suggested that things were not going well that evening?
In respect to what? Like,
That in
just-
his attitude or anything? Did he ever act in any kind of surreptitious way, or disappear, or get on his phone, or anything like that?
I mean, he might have got on his phone. That's certainly possible, but There was nothing that jumped out at me, even with the benefit of hindsight, that something was wrong.
You actually were interviewed by the police at some later point, correct?
I was, yes,
You were asked whether, even in hindsight, whether there was anything that seemed off that night, correct?
correct.
And as you sit here even today, was there anything that you think of that raised any kind of red flag with you that something was off or odd?
That evening, no.
I'm going to ask you if you know the name of Rania Minutis.
I do know the name, yes.
Who is she?
She's a real estate agent in the Farmington Valley.
Just have a moment. I forgot to ask you, when you first arrived at the house with Beth, did you see any of Fotis's employees on the property at that time?
On the property, no.
Did you see any before dinner?
Yes, as I said earlier, while we were pulling in before we made a right into Jefferson Crossing, Fotis was leaving, and one of the employees was behind him.
Do you know who Pavel Gumieni is?
I do, yes.
Did you see him at all that evening?
I don't remember, and like when I was interviewed, I didn't remember who was behind him. It was either Pavel or Andy, and I couldn't definitively say it was Pavel or it was Andy. It's not something I commit to memory. I just saw them leaving and pulled in.
Were they in separate, when you say behind him, in the same vehicle? Or
No, different vehicle.
I have no further questions.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
I just want to start by actually asking you a couple questions about Jennifer.
Okay.
You talked on direct about meeting her first. I think you lived at the same complex. Is that correct?
That's correct. In Griswold Farms in Canton.
In Canton?
Yeah.
Okay. You actually said on your testimony you remember her walking Petros and Theodore, right? In the stroller?
In the stroller, yeah.
Okay. And did you actually become friends with her first before Fotis?
I did meet her before Fotis, yes, and I probably saw her 3 times while she would come up my street on the cul-de-sac, and I saw her once getting the mail, and I saw her a couple times while I was walking the dog. And we chatted the first time, new to the area, she was very friendly, said, "Hi, I'm Jennifer, and these are my 2 boys. We live down the street." And
that started your...
That kind of started it, yeah.
Okay. And you also talked about going to Greece for even the 5th child, the youngest, Noelle, for her christening.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've been a part of the kids for a while when they were young.
I knew all the kids, yes.
Okay. Would you ever think Jennifer Dulos would have left her children?
No way.
You also talk about Hillard, actually, I should say, Hillard. Yes, and you were grateful to Hillard, I think you said in your testimony, right?
Yeah, I think he was very instrumental in the success of Ford Group.
And Hillard is Jennifer's father.
Jennifer's father,
Okay,
correct.
can you just explain why you think he was successful in the success of Ford Group?
Because he helped finance a lot of the company. So if there was, in real estate, timing's everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there was a builder that had bad times. They had a bunch of lots, and we could buy them from the bank or at a distressed price. But you needed the capital. Like Hilliard gave the company, not us, gave Fotis and Ford Group the money to buy really whatever was needed. And we would run it by him. He would, look at the numbers, make sure it was a good investment. But if he felt it was warranted, he helped Ford Group out with that on multiple occasions.
And this was over the years, correct?
Over the years, correct.
Okay, so if ever there was something that Ford Group was lacking cash in or it wanted a big property, Jennifer's father would help out.
Yes.
Okay. And when he passed, you reached out to Jennifer.
I did, yes.
Okay. Now, I have a couple other questions just about Ford Group. When you were working, correct me if I'm wrong, so you were working for Ford Group, then you wouldn't sign the non-compete, so you were fired, but you still had a relationship with Fotis.
He gave the listings to other agents with the exception of, I believe, one, which was 585. It was either 585 or 80. I'm pretty sure it was 585. So, he kept me on and gave me something while he started, giving out listings to other agents at the time. So
because you wouldn't sign the non-compete?
I think it was, yes.
Okay. And eventually you came back to work for Ford Group, is that right?
I never came back to work with them. He would then give me more listings. He'd give me some of the listings back.
Now, at some point, and you would get, and I'm probably not saying this correctly, so correct me if I'm wrong here, you get commissions from selling the houses.
Correct.
And at some point, did Fotis request or mandate out of Ford Group that you would reduce your commission to, I guess, share the love, kind of?
Correct.
Process? And that would also be after the point when Michelle Troconis started working and assisting at Ford Group, doing, I think, marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And do you mean yes?
Yes,
you have to say yes. Sorry, it's recorded.
I
Thank you. So she would work at Ford Group doing taking pictures, marketing the property as well?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. And so she would get paid by Ford Group as part of the employee.
I have no idea how she was paid. I was not there at the time, so I don't know how she was compensated.
But it was definitely, she was doing some marketing as well.
Correct.
Okay, for Ford Group. And you also indicated that she was selling rugs. So she had her own business selling rugs?
I don't know if she had her own business, but I know she had some rugs that we had seen one, and the whole plan was to come over and look at them.
Okay, and that was on May 23rd of 2019?
Yes, correct.
All right, so you get to, let's talk about the dinner party you get to Fort Jefferson,
Mhm.
and your plan was to see the rugs first. Were you
See
going
the
to
rugs
purchase
first,
them?
and I believe we did see the rugs first
Okay, and then you're going to stay for dinner.
for dinner, correct.
I know you talked about this under Reich, but are you part of the water ski community pond?
I am not. I've been there, I have skied there, but I am not a water skier by any means. I'm a snow skier and a golfer, but not.
It's not for you?
I just, no,
Okay. And so you go there, you did you purchase a rug from Michelle Troconis?
no, we did not.
And you stayed for dinner. And I think you discussed the fact that Fotis at the time, I just want to make sure I say it correctly. You said he was happy, laughing. It was a jovial environment.
It was,
I would say. Okay. And he was, would you say optimistic
I believe so.
on that May 23rd? Okay. And when
I
you're,
didn't hear his answer out loud.
I said, I believe so, yes,
and at that dinner party, it was you and Beth.
correct,
And Hutch and his wife Erin.
correct.
Okay. Did you know Hutch Haynes and Erin Haynes?
I had never met Aaron.
Hello, friends. I am so sorry. Hold on one second. Sorry, Lena was barking. Okay, sorry. Hold on. Hey! Ina! Ina! Not nice. Not nice. Okay, so no. Yeah, there's a dog fight. So Clyde had a biscuit. He hasn't been eating it, apparently. And Lainey walked by him, and Clyde lost his shit. It's an attacked her. So had to fix that. Sorry, guys. Friend of the stream, friend of the show. Fudbusters contacted me, and we were talking about something, and we were trying to resolve an issue, and it just kept going. So I'm sorry. I started the stream. I thought I'd be back right away. So my bad, chat. My bad. And there's a bunch of things here. Is this your guys' way of getting attention for me? Mr. Bubbles gifted a membership. Thank you. Another membership, 3 memberships. Debbie O gifted 5 memberships. Thank you, Debbie. Bifron says Sean. Island gave a membership. Thank you. Debbie gave 5. Thank you, Debbie. Turnips gave 5. Otto gifted 5. Sweet Tooth Fairy gifted 5. Another 5. And Unknown Hero for $2 says, "Oh, I'm going to come." Don't come. Don't come. But guys, for all of you who gifted memberships, thank you very much. Whoever got one, I'm sure is going to be thrilled. So, yeah, the biscuit's gone. Well, I thought the biscuit I threw the biscuit away. Lainey ate her piece and he did not eat his. We're not doing that. So, like I said, my apologies, guys. But yeah, it's time to get Michelle Troconis going and finish this out and knock it out of the park.
But I had met Hutch a couple times.
Okay. So this party of the 6 of you, it wasn't a regular occurrence.
It was not, no.
Okay. And at what time did you know that Hutch and Erin were coming as well?
I think either when Fotis was leaving Jefferson to go wherever, or after he came back and then said he needed to get more meat for everybody. I think he forgot that we were coming. I don't know what happened, but I had no idea that Hutch and his wife would be there. I don't know if they knew that we were going to be there, but we just rolled with it and had a good night.
You learned that night while you were already there or en route? Is that
Yes,
right?
correct.
Okay. All right. And that night, I mean, you were socializing, talking with everybody, including Michelle Troconis?
Yes,
Okay. In English?
in English, yes.
Okay. And any part of the discussion that night talk about plans to murder Jennifer the next day?
No.
Any part of that discussion talk about plans to dispose evidence in garbage cans along Albany Avenue?
No.
Any part of that discussion involve plans about using the Toyota Tacoma and cleaning it afterwards?
No.
Okay. That's not something you discuss at a dinner party?
No.
Okay.
I'm going to object that last was argumentative and it's
Well, it's gratuitous,
gratuitous.
but that's not essentially a ground on which to object, but the jury knows the difference between a genuine question and questions that are gratuitous. So the court is not going to sustain the objection. The jury knows what it hears.
I'll yell at you guys like that for $50.
If I may, Your Honor, I will move on.
Guys, the car alarm's on the stream, not in my house.
You may proceed, counsel.
Thank you. Just a couple questions about 80 Mountain Road, Mountain Spring Road. So if you were coming out of Jefferson Crossing and where you met Fotis Dulos coming, you were going up towards Jefferson Crossing? So you're driving up north?
I was on Eli heading north.
North.
Yep. And
Okay.
to make a right into Jefferson Crossing.
Into it.
Yep.
Okay, where would, if you're going up and you're taking a right into Jefferson Crossing, where would Mountain Spring Road be?
Oh, that would be well behind me.
Behind you?
Yeah, so behind me, and then that intersects Old Mountain Road, and then, no, is that, yeah, Old Mountain Road, and then you'd make a right, and then make a left onto Mountain Spring Road.
Okay, was Fotis Dulos driving in?
He was going in the direction of Mountain Spring Road from Jefferson Crossing, but very close to the entrance of Jefferson Crossing, but he made a left out of Jefferson Crossing towards that direction.
Okay, so you kind of passed like ships passing in the night, is
Yes,
that right?
correct.
Okay, okay. Fotis Dulos didn't tell you he was going to 80 Mountain Spring Road,
No,
did he?
I had no idea where he was going.
No. Okay. And if I can just have one moment. I have nothing further. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Redirect.
Yes, you indicated that you didn't know if, well, you didn't know the Haynes were coming.
Correct.
Was Fotis somebody who, when he made social plans, was kind of like last minute?
Say sometimes yes, sometimes no. I mean,
Kind of spontaneous?
can be, yes.
Was this a formal or informal dinner that night?
I think it was just informal. It was what it was supposed to be, or what it. And I mean, it was.
Yeah, what was it supposed to be?
It was supposed to be go look at the rugs and then go get some sushi and Avon.
But that didn't happen.
That didn't happen. So it was go look at the rugs and stay at Fort Jefferson and have dinner there.
And who changed the plan?
I think Fotis did. I think Fotis forgot we were coming, and the Haynes, I changed the date originally, so he might have had plans on that Thursday. I didn't ask. He just said, oh, the Haynes. And so we were like, we're going to stay here. We're like, okay.
You never did go out for sushi that night?
No.
You were asked a question by Ms. Manning about your opinion on whether Jennifer would ever leave her kids or disappear and leave her kids. Remember that question?
I do.
Did you have an opinion on whether, before she had kids, Jennifer would ever do something like that?
Before she had kids, that she would
Yeah,
do something.
that
Like
she ever disappear?
Objection.
Well, what's happening now is this. This witness is now being asked about character evidence of someone who's not a witness. Sustained.
I have no further questions.
Just briefly, Your Honor, if I may. Sir, counsel asked you about Fotis always being late. I think he used the term spontaneous or always late, and it was kind of impromptu with regards to that dinner party. Right? Do you remember him asking you that just now? And so Fotis had a habit of being late all the time. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, I think you called it Fotis time before.
Yep.
All right. Would it surprise you if he was told to be somewhere at 4:30 and he would show up at 3:30?
If he was told to be somewhere at 4:30 and showed up an hour early,
Yes. Would
That
that
was-
surprise you?
yes, it would.
Nothing further. Thank you.
Nothing else.
Reich, you may step down.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The defense have another witness for this afternoon.
I have another witness about to arrive. I just asked.
She's not here?
Yes, she is. She's in the hallway.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or solemnly and sincerely affirm, as the case may be, that the evidence you shall give concerning this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or upon penalty of perjury? Could you please state your name and then spell it together?
Sure. Beth Reich, BETHREICH.
Right, you may be seated.
Good afternoon, Ms. Wright.
Good afternoon.
Were you subpoenaed to be here today?
Yes.
The name that you just gave us, was that the same name you were using in 2019?
No, my name at that time was my maiden name, Johnson, and I still use that name professionally.
Could you tell us what you do professionally?
Yes, I'm an executive at a medical device company.
Do you have any other side employment as well?
Not side employment. I have side interests. I'm certified as a research coordinator and a domestic violence counselor.
Can you just tell us what your educational background is?
Sure. I studied opera at the Yale School of Music. I attended Quinnipiac University. I began my master's there as I had an accelerated program during my sophomore year. I graduated with a bachelor's, a dual major bachelor's in communication and
I'm glad I missed that guy, and I'm here for the milk truck. Beep, beep, milk truck just arrived.
marketing.
What town do you live in right now?
Avon, Connecticut.
With whom?
Stefan Reich and our collective children.
You have children and he has children?
Yes.
So how many children do you have separately?
I have 2 teenage boys.
And collectively, how many children are there?
3.
Did you know Fotis Dulos in 2000? Well, did you know Fotis Dulos when he was alive?
Yes.
Could you tell us how you met him?
I met both Jennifer and Fotis Dulos in November of 2014 when I went to the offices at Fort Jefferson Crossing, the Ford Group.
Who was living there at that time?
Jennifer, Fotis, and the 5 children.
Did you communicate at the time with Jennifer Dulos?
Yes.
Did Stefan as well?
Yes.
Did you communicate with Fotis at that time?
Yes.
Well, how would you describe your interaction with Jennifer Dulos during that time?
Object, Your Honor.
How would you describe your interaction with Jennifer Dulos at that time?
Okay.
Ground.
Relevance, we're talking about 2014 interaction with Jennifer Dulos, the alleged victim in this case, Your Honor. It's not relevant.
Well, unless the inquiry is going to go beyond 2014, it's not relevant.
I understand. This is a preliminary when they met, and I'm going to then progress. So
The court will overrule the objection.
Do you want me to describe the moment I met her, or do you want me to
no,
describe
I'm
the
looking
totality
for
of my
the
experience?
general demeanor of the interaction.
Friendly, welcoming. She was very happy that Stefan and I were in a relationship, which was brand new in November of 2014. And the relationship expanded and our interactions evolved from there.
After that, did you become aware at some time that Jennifer had moved out?
Yes.
So before she moved out, was there any change in the way you interacted with her in terms of demeanor, what the relationship with you was?
The relationship became less of a slight acquaintance to a much more friendly relationship. We did socialize at dinners. I found her to be extremely supportive during some difficult circumstances in Stefan and my collective life. I found her to be very intelligent. One of the first times we had a more intimate conversation when we were alone at the home, she used the term effusive. And as a lover of lexicon, I kind of appreciated that a great deal. So the interactions were always warm and friendly and welcoming.
And when was the last time that you spoke with Jennifer?
I would say perhaps late, maybe very early 2017. I don't recall exactly, but it was certainly not after she left the marital home.
So before she left.
Correct.
Did your children interact and play together as well with her children?
Not on a regular basis. My children all ski. Stefan was a competitive skier. I'm a skier, and all the children skied. The Dulos children skied.
Oh, I
and
bet she
as did
skis a
Fotis. So
lot.
we would find each other together on the mountain, and we would ski together when my boys were very young.
So let's be, I want to be clear. We're talking about skiing on a mountain. We're not talking about water skiing.
Correct.
Right? So in
Winter skiing.
addition to
I'm not
water
talking
skiing,
about
skiing,
jerking off
there
to
was
guys.
competitive downhill alpine skiing.
Correct.
And the Dulos children were involved in that.
Correct.
And Stefan's son was involved in that.
I don't recall exactly, but we would usually go as a family when the kids were little.
Did you ever meet Michelle Troconis?
I did.
What were the circumstances of you meeting her?
Fotis and Jennifer had left the house. Fotis and Jennifer had begun their, I don't know if it was legal separation at the time, but their separation. And to be blunt, we kind of got Fotis in the divorce, if you want to put it that way, because he was local and he and Stefan still had business dealings.
Mhm.
And I think our first interaction was we had a sushi dinner together where we were introduced. And I think we were asked to be there for that
sushi
dinner because Fotis wanted maybe a safe space to introduce Michelle.
How would you describe your meeting with Michelle? How did that go?
Fine, very engaging, worldly woman. Just getting to know somebody. It was friendly.
Do you speak Spanish?
Poorly. I did when I was in Barcelona.
How long were you in Barcelona?
12 days?
12 days?
Yes.
Okay. So
Approximately.
you didn't live there for a year?
No. We travel a lot and I try and learn the language for the country that we're going to.
Did you communicate with Michelle in English or in Spanish?
English.
Did you have any difficulty communicating with her in English?
No,
Were there words that she didn't know sometimes?
nothing that sticks out.
Okay.
Why would you
So
ask
in any
these
event,
questions? Don't ask these
You
questions.
socialized with Stefan and Fotis with Michelle
Correct.
over what period of time?
Why would you ask that question if you don't know the answer? Those are very bad questions because you don't know the answer in advance and a no does not help you. Yes, and Michelle might. Yes, Mr. Lena Reich. I asked her why the rug was dirty. I thought she was the help. Yes. Yeah, you guys are. Yeah, those are. Yeah. Anyways, we'll just keep going. You can't see me. You guys should be able to see me now. What a. Yeah, that's good. That is a good screen pause. Hold on, we gotta image cap that. There. She looks smart. Yeah. I like how she's like, well, she was, the word she used made me think she felt smart. It's like, okay, honey.
How long a period of time?
From our primary meeting in 2017 until May of 2019.
When you said that you inherited, or whatever word you used, Fotis in the divorce, did you ever talk about his divorce in your presence?
He spoke about judicial matters and some frustrating elements about those judicial matters, but I think he learned very early on that neither Stefan nor I would welcome any negative commentary about Jennifer. So it was really mostly about his experience during the judicial process and his frustrations with it.
I just want to follow up on that. Had you expressed some disapproval of hearing negative things from him about Jennifer?
We never said it outright, but I think if anything was perhaps started or proffered, it was obvious that we weren't interested in engaging any type of communication like that.
Do you recall there was a specific invite to dinner with Fotis and Michelle in May, specifically on May 23rd, 2000?
I do.
What do you recall about the circumstances of that invite occurring? That is before the dinner itself. Like, how did the invitation get sent out and accepted, if you recall?
I think it was probably just a text request by Fotis to Stefan, and then we attended.
Do you know, or can you tell us whether or not Stefan had a habit with regard to being on time for things?
Stefan is militantly punctual, so yes.
Is that more, the way you said, is more so than yourself?
He's very, very punctual on all matters.
And if the invitation was for a specific time, did you and Stefan arrive on or before that time?
We would have arrived either at the specific time or a couple moments before.
Could you tell us, by the way, do you recall arriving at, or do you recall driving to 4 Jefferson Crossing for that evening, social evening?
I did not drive. Stefan was driving the car, but yes.
Do you recall seeing someone that is Fotis outside the house before you got there?
Yes, as we were pulling into the entrance to Jefferson Crossing, it's gated to a degree. He was pulling out and we didn't collide, but we were parallel and we rolled the window down and said, "Hey, where are you going?" And it almost seemed like maybe he had forgotten we were going to be there. And then he said something about an errand and left. And then we proceeded to 4 Jefferson.
Was there anyone else either with him or following him out of the intersection here?
I do recall that there was a vehicle that was following him, but I don't remember exactly who it was or what vehicle it was. I'm not 100% certain.
During the time that you were involved with Stefan earlier on in this relationship, would you spend any time at the 4 Jefferson Crossing offices meeting any of the other employees?
Yes.
Do you recall whether the person that was following was an employee?
It could have been. If I don't know who the person is, I don't exactly remember who it
Okay,
was. I'm
so let
sorry.
me move on from that. When Fotis said that he'd be right back, did he come right back?
I don't exactly remember the length of time, but he was back in due course, a very short period of time.
Can you tell us did you continue on and go into into 4 Jefferson Crossing?
Yes, after we exchanged communication with Fotis, we pulled Stefan's car through the porte-cochere, parked on the French trellis portion of the driveway, and then proceeded into the house.
And just for those of us who don't know French, the porte-cochere is the archway that separates the 2 garages on the left from the 2 garages on the right.
It's the archway, yes, the porte-cochere.
Okay. So when you arrived, did you go right into the house?
I think we went to the door of the mudroom that was adjacent to the kitchen and announced our arrival somehow. And I probably brought something. I don't usually go empty-handed, so it was probably a bottle of wine or something. Put that on the counter, and I think Michelle greeted us in the kitchen.
Do you recall hearing her before seeing her?
Yes, the window was cracked. The window to the right of the door was cracked a little bit, and I heard her kind of speaking to herself.
In what language?
Spanish, I believe.
And when you came into the house, how did she react when she saw you?
Well, she knew we were coming because we were there specifically to see something of hers.
And what was that?
We were going to see some rugs, and she had been carrying them and laying them out. There were some in the TV room adjacent to the kitchen, so it's kind of like pathway from the kitchen to the TV room area. And then there were also some in the offices upstairs. And I imagine they were probably heavy. So she was probably a little flustered, and that might've been what I heard through the window.
Is there a reason you were looking at these rugs at that time?
Yes, I actually have 3 of those types of rugs in my house, but they're cream and silver. And Michelle didn't have that in her inventory at the time, I don't believe. But it was an aesthetic we were interested in.
And were these being laid out for what, so you could look at them?
Yes.
You said some were laid out where were they laid out downstairs?
In the room adjacent to the kitchen, it had very large sectional, a television. And I don't recall any other details about the room.
Did you say you also went up to the office?
We did.
And were there other rugs to look at up there?
Correct.
Were they already spread out for you to look at?
Yes.
Would you describe her demeanor while you were there?
Yeah, she was telling us about the rugs. It was normal. She was happy we were there to see what she was selling for her new business and the support. And she explained the details, where they were sourced from, and maybe where she was selling them currently, but I don't recall specifically.
Did you eat there that night?
We did.
Do you remember what you had?
It's a a meal often repeated. So it was grilled meats and fresh French fries because they had a French fry maker in the grill outside and a Greek salad.
You say grilled meat, was that a Greek thing that, you said it was a common meal?
Yeah, it was a common meal with Fotis at his home.
Okay. How would you describe the tenor of that evening and the meal?
Positive, jovial, relaxed.
Did another couple come?
Yes,
Do you remember who that was?
yes.
Who was that?
Hutch Haynes and his wife, I believe it's Mary Ellen. I haven't seen her since that day.
If her name was maybe Aaron, might that ring
Yes.
a bell?
Thank you.
Yes, that's
Yes,
correct.
thank you.
Okay. And when they arrived, did anything change or was it the same atmosphere?
No, it was the same atmosphere, just maybe a bit bigger.
Do you recall whether at any point Fotis left the house? You said he came back in due course was what you said before, right?
Mhm. Yes,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Did he leave again to run an errand?
Yes.
Tell us about that, please.
He had prepared or taken some meat out for the dinner and realized that there wasn't enough perhaps for everybody and went to buy some more.
Did he say where he was going?
Not that I recall.
Do you know how long he was gone for? The second time?
I don't know, but it probably wasn't that long.
What were the subject? Did people talk during dinner?
Yes.
What did they talk about?
General topics. Hutch has a ski pond he's very passionate about. So we talked about that, obviously. I had never met them before, so it was an opportunity to learn more about them. We talked travel and politics and current events and interests, the general kind of banter at a dinner.
Did that bottle of wine you mentioned get open?
Yes, and I believe there were a couple more.
All right. Were there any toasts that evening?
Yes.
Could you just describe that?
We learned that evening that, or I should speak for myself. I heard that evening that Fotis had been at Jennifer's home in New Caanan with the children, and that experience and their interpersonal reactions to each other was very amicable, which we were very glad to hear. And he had also stated that the custodial evaluation.
Objection, Your Honor.
Well, any testimony about what Fotis Dulos said about the custodial report or the investigation is not admissible. Follow up, counsel.
So without getting into what the custodial report said, what was the mood regarding the toast? What was the toast about?
I'm going to object, Your Honor. This is clearly asked for hearsay.
Well, the preliminary question was the toast about what was in the custodial investigation or the custodial report. And then the court can act on the objection. If that's the question you wish to ask, counsel, you may.
Yes. What was the toast?
I don't know any words that were particularly said, but the general sentiment that I recall was a feeling of excitement that there was going to be positive resolution for them both during what I knew to be a very difficult custody battle, which despite which side you're on, it's very, very difficult for either parent and very difficult for the children. And the sentiment was that maybe this is going to end and there would be more peace.
And how did you react? What was your reaction? You happy? Were you-
Objection, Your Honor. Relevance.
Relevance, counsel.
Well, the fact that she heard something and reacted to it is the purpose of these.
Well,
this
the
question.
jury can draw no probative value from this witness's reaction to what Fotis Dulos said, sustained.
Was there any negative comments whatsoever said about Jennifer during this dinner?
No.
Was the entire evening a positive and hopeful evening?
Yes.
Was that true even after you finished the dinner?
Yes.
Was that true after you finished the toast?
Yes.
At any time, did you see Mr. Dulos act in any surreptitious or underhanded manner during that dinner?
No.
Anything that stood out as being odd?
Just that when we drove in, he was driving out and he almost seemed like he had forgotten we were coming.
Okay, but you said that wasn't odd for him.
I don't know if I actually said that, but it's often that, in my experience with men, if you're a host of something, you might forget sometimes.
Okay. And how was Michelle's attitude that evening, her demeanor during that dinner?
Engaging, friendly, positive.
At any time, did you see her act in any strange way or leave the room in any surreptitious way?
Not that I recall.
Did she join in the toast?
I don't know how many hands were in the center, but I imagine she did.
Were people laughing?
I don't exactly recall.
Were people smiling?
Yes.
Do you recall whether you were the last to leave or whether the Haynes left before you?
The Haynes left before us.
So if you arrived at, what time did you arrive?
5 o'clock.
And what time did you stay until?
I think it was around 10:30.
And you said the Haynes left before you. Do you remember how much sooner?
I don't recall.
Did you, after dinner, did you help with anything?
Yes, Michelle and I cleared the table and worked on the dishes. And I'm not quite sure what Stefan and Fotis were doing.
All right, but did you chat with Michelle while you were doing the dishes?
Yes,
And what was the tenor of that conversation?
nothing negative, nothing that would bring me pause.
And was it upbeat?
Yes,
Do you recall, I'll withdraw it, never mind. Even now, almost 5 years later, is there anything in hindsight that you think was strange or odd during the dinner, during the time that Fotis was present in the house or Michelle was in the house, that with 2020 hindsight would make you think differently about that dinner?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Sure. You've described what it was like, how you felt, how it seemed that it was going. Now, 5 years later, with this case going on and all that has been in the media since then, is there anything in hindsight that you think was odd or about that dinner that you didn't bring up at all?
About that dinner, no.
Yes, or that evening?
No.
I have no further questions.
Oh, do you wish to take the afternoon recess now and cross afterward?
That's probably a good point, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we will take our afternoon recess. Please do not discuss the case.
All right, guys. So cancel the stream because of the car beeping. I'm sorry. That's the honker's alarm. Yeah. This is not helping. Do you know he's streaming? He's a machine. I said we were going to finish this up, and then we're going to get to the laundry notes, but we might wait a little while. We can dig into part of day 26 tonight. I don't. J-Rock, yeah, this is beating a dead horse. I don't see how this helps Michelle. We already now know that she speaks English very well. None of this is helping them. I don't know why this woman's up here. I don't know why the guy before was up there. This is not helping at all. This is really kind of fucking dumb. And the problem is when you're offering bad shit like this, it doesn't help. I kind of feel like you tempt fate by making things bad for your clients. So I don't know why they're doing this. I don't this is not, it's not a good sign. It's not a good sign to me, but that's, I'm nervous like that, but I don't think this is good. I don't think this is benefiting Michelle at all. So we'll see though. So turning the jurors gay. Yeah, I don't know. These are defense witnesses? Yes. Yes, these are defense witnesses. The state is already rested. So this is the state's case in chief. These are 100% defense witnesses. And, are they making it more likely or less likely that Michelle did this? I don't think so. So, no, this is a defense witness. It's been a defense witness since halfway through the morning. So, yeah. Did Michelle's lawyer go ask to turn off the car alarm? Hold on one second. Yeah, there's nobody here. The damn dogs. So yeah, this is I think until we get to the expert, this is all just garbage. but we're getting there. We're getting there. All right. Connecticut still is trans, yeah. Why are the dogs crazy? Because 2.0 left and they get separation anxiety. They think she's coming back every 5 minutes. They hear something outside. So let's keep going. Oh, there we go, guys. You get a full shot.
Judge, this is actually about another witness, so I don't know if,
Disregard another witness?
yes, I don't know.
To be heard or already testified?
Neither, actually. I just wanted to put something on there. I don't know if the
You
witness
may
could
be
just step
seated.
out for just, oh, all right,
That's fine.
Quickly.
then the jury.
Oh, that's right. All right.
Can we approach it sidebar then, Judge? Thank you.
There is a question about, part of the defense has been that Fotis Dulos was telling everyone he knew, including Michelle, how good things were going now that the custody study came out and how optimistic he was. I thought the court's ruling was we couldn't get into the actual custody study. Whether what Dulos said was true or not, it happens to be, because the court is aware, true, but whether it was or not is not the issue. It's the fact he said it, so it's not being offered for the truth. It's being offered to show the reaction that he's telling everyone this, and that's why Michelle, it would negate the idea that she thought that this was going to go on and on and on, despite the fact that at least there was all this optimism being said literally the night before the disappearance. So I just want to put it on the record, the court has not allowed that. I'm going to ask the court to reconsider because it is sort of part and parcel of the defense to be able to elicit what Dulos was telling people about it. It's going to come up at least with one other witness. And so that's why I asked that the court reconsider that restriction.
Well, the gravamen of the offer is that on the 23rd or the 24th, right now it's the 23rd, he was happy about the way things were going. There need not be a mention of the custody report. There's already evidence that he was optimistic about the way things were going. That's been testified to more than once.
I don't disagree. What I'm asking, though, is the court is also precluded to have any witness talk about that he was at least talking about the proceedings, that how things were going in the court was optimistic. And I would have asked this witness whether they toasted to new beginnings as a result of those statements about the actual court proceedings, not that he personally felt it, but he believed that the court was going his way. That's the purpose of it.
Well, if that's the offer, there need not be mention of the custody study. Were things going his way in court, according to him? Yes.
Yes, I thought they objected to even mentioning court, and that's why the court, I thought, precluded that question. I don't have to mention the study at all.
Well, if the question is whether he thought things were going well in court on that date, without reference to the custody study, the court would allow that.
All right.
But any effort to pry open what was happening in court and what was filed in court, other than the court understands that there will be a witness who will discuss what the filings were and when those filings were done. But again, it's really the same question. Was he optimistic about custody with his children? Yes. Was he optimistic about the way things were going in court concerning custody? Yes. It's the same question. You can bring the jury out, please.
Here comes the jury.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ma'am. How are you?
Good afternoon.
Just a couple questions I had. I actually just wanted to ask you, counsel asked you if there was anything odd or anything in hindsight about looking back at that dinner party on May 23rd.
Mhm.
And I want to ask you about your answer.
Mhm.
You said no, but you clarified that with saying at the dinner party.
Mhm.
Was there anything else that you thought was in hindsight odd or different?
Not at the dinner. Everything I testified with respect to interactions and feelings, et cetera, at the dinner was completely accurate. The question of hindsight in this case, how it is relevant to that statement is after the warrants came out and all the circumstantial evidence came out pertaining to Fotis, it seemed as though perhaps
Well, I have to object. If after he was arrested, she has an opinion based on what she read about, I would argue it's outside the scope of direct irrelevant.
Well, the court understands the testimony to be hindsight testimony. Overruled.
You can continue, Mayor.
But Your Honor, the hindsight had to do with the dinner, not about now 5 years later what she thinks.
Your Honor, he specifically asked her in hindsight sitting here today. I'm just asking what she meant by her statement, and she has a right to answer that.
Well, the question is not whether the witness has a right to answer. The question is whether the question is admissible. The issue of hindsight has come up, and the court is not necessarily convinced that hindsight referred only back to the dinner. So in other words, the court does not recall whether hindsight referred just to the dinner on May 23rd or hindsight referred to anything.
I'll ask the court then to review the testimony because that was the question and that's what I asked about even now. Was there anything about the dinner that evening that was odd or in any way?
Well, because this is the problem that arises. Hindsight about anything, just at any time, is not going to be admissible. Hindsight about May 23rd will be admissible. So the court's understanding is, the limitation that is looking back now, is there anything about what was done on the 23rd, anything you noticed that you're now thinking about that you didn't think about on the 23rd of May, 2019? Because what the court wants to avoid is this. Looking back now after you've read media reports, watched media reports, is there anything about Fotis Dulos now that you're thinking about in hindsight that essentially you didn't think about that on May 23rd? And the reference could refer to something Fotis Dulos did back in 2014 or 2016. So the court, in fairness, wants to limit that testimony because it may be unfairly prejudicial to tag any particular time in the acquaintance between Ms. Reich and Fotis Dulos. So if it concerns May 23rd, 2019, the court will allow the question.
Thank you, ma'am. With respect to May 23rd, 2019, is there anything in hindsight that you thought was different or odd?
in hindsight, what sticks out to me is the dichotomy of the positivity of that evening and what subsequently occurred. And again, with the benefit of hindsight 5 years later and continuing to process that concept, that dichotomy becomes more pronounced.
And this was the first time you had met Michelle Troconis?
No,
No. When did you first meet Michelle Troconis?
in 2017,
And you had gone out to dinners with them?
correct,
And you had gone eaten at Fort Jefferson Crossing?
correct.
It's the first time you met the Hayneses? Is that
On
right?
May 23rd,
23rd?
2019 was the first time, yes.
Okay. And that night there was the toast, and the toast I think you testified was because things were going to end. Was your testimony, is that right?
I believe I testified to the fact that there was going to be a positive resolution for both parents, and much of the negativity that affected all parties, the children and the parents, and the extension of the family would end. That was the purpose of my statement.
All right, thank you very much.
I just have a few questions. When you talked about the positive resolution that you were talking about on May 23rd, 2019, was that specifically upbeat about how things were going in court, according to Mr. Dulos?
According to Mr. Dulos?
Yes.
Yes,
And was it optimistic from Mr. Dulos about how the things were going into the future, that he would be spending more time with his children?
correct.
No further questions.
One second, Your Honor, if I may. Nothing further. Thank you.
Ms. Reich, you may step down.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Oh no, she go bye-bye. Chat one last time. We'll give her a chance here. Look at her leave. So long. Yes, Boba. Judge, yeah, he doesn't blur the lines too much with the speaking objections. I still respect how he does it. As the milk truck goes bye-bye. Milk truck has unarrived.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or solemnly and sincerely affirm, as the case may be, that the evidence you shall give concerning this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or upon penalty of perjury? Yes, I do. Please state your name and spell it for the record. I'm sorry, what? Say your name and spell it for the record. Cheryl Brier, Cheryl. B as in boy, Riere.
Good afternoon, Ms. Brier.
Hi.
Would you please indicate to the members of the jury what your profession is?
I'm a hairstylist,
How long have you been a hairstylist?
25 years,
Could you tell the jury where you practice your trade, your profession?
in Avon, Connecticut,
Where do you live, by the way?
Granby, Connecticut.
Do you know Michelle Troconis?
Yes, I do.
Could you tell her how you met Ms. Troconis?
I was working at a salon on 44, and she came in and wanting her hair done, and I just happened to be the girl sitting at the front desk. So we just started chit-chatting, and I said, well, why don't I book you with me? And she came in a couple days later, I guess, and I started doing her hair then.
When you say 44, you're
Route
referring to
44,
Route
sorry.
44?
Route
And-
44,
And
Avon.
does Route 44 have another name in Avon?
Main Street?
Albany Avenue?
Albany
maybe?
Avenue, yes,
Okay.
yes.
And you were a hairdresser. What year was that? Do you remember?
That I started doing hairdressing?
No, that you
Oh,
met
that I
Michelle.
met Michelle? 2018.
Do you recall over the course of the next year, couple of years, how often did Michelle come into the shop to get her hair done?
Probably every 3 to 5 weeks.
Did she usually book with you
Yes, always.
as her hair stylist?
Yes, always.
Do you recall whether you saw Michelle during the week of May 20th, 2019? That is the week before Memorial Day weekend.
I can't specifically say to the date, but I think she was in on a Saturday to get her hair done.
Do you recall reading or learning something about the disappearance of Jennifer Dulos, the wife of Fotis Dulos?
I found out on the news when everybody else found out on the news.
Before you found out about it, did you see Michelle Troconis that
Yes, I
Saturday?
did. Yes.
So would it
So
have
I'm going
been?
to say like maybe a week before I found out I had done Michelle's hair.
All right. So what do you, if the day that, do you know when you found out?
It was like a week later when when it came out on the news. I'm going to say week and a half later.
All right. And this was, you're saying a week before that you saw Michelle?
Yes.
If I were to tell you, just to orient the time, that the allegation was she disappeared on May 24th, 2019, on a Friday, what day would you have seen Michelle?
Saturday.
The next day?
Yes.
Would you just, how many times would you say over the previous 2 years had you met with Michelle?
The last 2 years?
Before that day.
Before that. Like to have her hair done every 3 to 5 weeks. We became friends. We did some women's small business things along the way to promote women in small business.
What kind of business, did you have any business interaction with Michelle
Yes.
during that time?
One of them was she sold rugs. We put her rugs in our salon. I bought several rugs. I have a little side business without wine. So we had a little wine tasting at another friend of ours shop. So, just promoting small women in business.
That Saturday, what was the reason that you were in contact with her?
She came to get her hair done.
Did you, in fact, cut her hair that day or
Yes.
trim her hair, whatever,
Yes.
style her hair?
Colored her hair, yes.
Okay. And would you describe her demeanor and how she was on that occasion?
Michelle is always happy. She's just a positive person. I never see her mad or anything like that. She's just always uplifting. She lifts other people up.
Let's talk about May 25th, 2019.
Okay.
That day.
Okay.
Was there anything unusual about her behavior that day?
No.
Do you recall what you were talking about with her, subject matter?
Your Honor, I'm going to object at this point. Relevance, hearsay.
Well, the defendant's demeanor one day after Jennifer Dulos was missing is relevant. The topics that came up are also relevant, but the court is not going to allow testimony into the substance of the topic. So overruled.
Ms. Brier, do you understand the difference? But I'm not asking you to say what she said, just what topics you were talking about.
We always talked about family and the kids. What are you doing this weekend? That type of thing.
Was she at this point happy or sad
No, she was always happy. She was happy.
on that day?
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Do you know what time her appointment was with you?
That I can't.
Was it in the morning?
Honestly, I can't say.
All right, thank you.
I mean, if you want to know my hours, I could tell you my hours were 9 to 1, if that helps.
Oh, so on Saturday?
So
you
on
only
Saturday,
worked-
I do work 9 to 1, so she was in that time frame, if that helps you.
Right, and when you say till 1, do you take an appointment at 1 or is that when you leave?
I would take an appointment at 1.
So you don't know whether it was 9, 10, 11?
No, I don't recollect.
All right, I have no further questions.
Briefly, if I can.
I'm sorry, what?
Hi, ma'am. How are you? I'm Michelle Manning. I
Hi.
represent the state. We've never met, right?
No.
Okay. Actually, just a couple of questions. So that Saturday would have been about Saturday Memorial Day weekend would have been about 5/25, 2019.
Yes.
Does that date sound right?
Yes, that sounds right.
Okay. And you worked between like 9 and 1
Yes.
ish. Okay. And Michelle Troconis came in to get her hair cut. That was your testimony, or hair colored?
Yes.
Okay. And she was happy?
Yes.
Nothing further. Thank you.
Nothing else.
Brier, you may step down.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. You know it.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or solemnly and sincerely affirm as the case may be that the evidence you
This
shall
is
give
gonna be
in this case
interesting.
shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or upon penalty of perjury?
I don't know. I don't know what that last lady did.
JEFFREY
Yeah, I mean, other than that, but they're gonna say she was happy,
You may be.
but she's happy that Jennifer's gone.
Good
is the
afternoon, sir.
response
Would you
to
please
it.
indicate to the members of the jury where you are employed?
I am a Farmington police officer
How-
in the town
how-
of Farmington.
You know, and they're gonna say like, "Hey, you see about a place like, does she have blood on her? Yeah, did she look at chopped anyone up? No, but you heard the state's question. Did she look happy? Yes. Why? Because Jennifer is dead. So I think that's what they got to be careful about. Yes, and this should tell you a lot that Schemmerhorn is like, God, I don't have a whole lot to work with. Now, what's this guy gonna do? I don't know. This is gonna be interesting.
In where?
In the town of Farmington.
Could you tell the jury how long you've been an officer with Farmington?
I've been an officer in Farmington since 2012, or no, sorry, 2009. I left. I have to think this through, but technically just made 11 years.
During that time, you just indicate what positions have you held with the Farmington Police Department?
I started out as a regular police officer. I was assigned to the mall for a period of time, and for the last 4 years, I've been assigned as the evidence officer.
So
Court liaison.
we're down here in Fairfield County. When you say the mall, would you just indicate to the jury about the West
So
Farm?
Farmington has a substantial mall called the West Farms Mall. Part of it's in West Hartford, but most of it's actually in the town of Farmington. It's tends to be our busiest area in the town.
After you were assigned there, what else, what other positions did you hold?
Nothing substantial there. I mean, in Farmington, just for the time that I've been there, it was the officer, Storms Mall, and now the court liaison officer.
And as the court liaison officer, are you also the individual who acts as the evidence officer for the town of Farmington?
Yes.
Could you just indicate to the jury, what does the evidence officer, let me rephrase the question. What is the evidence officer's responsibilities in the town of Farmington?
I'm responsible for logging in and logging out all evidence found property and tracking that, making sure court forms are filled out, moving those forms and evidence back and forth between court and various locations and keeping track of that.
Are you also responsible for receiving evidence from other law enforcement agencies?
Yes. So receiving evidence is in totality for wherever it's being generated. If it's being deposited with the police department, I'm responsible for it.
Were you subpoenaed to come here today?
Yes, I was.
Were you asked to bring something in particular?
Yes, I was.
Would you please indicate to the jury what it is that you were asked to bring?
Your Honor, this is a
Well-
point that state's objecting.
The issue of what you were asked to bring is not probative. So the court's going to sustain that objection.
Did you bring a document with you today, an envelope?
Yes, I did.
Is it sealed?
Yes, it is.
Could you just tell us where you received this from?
From the Connecticut State Police.
And is there a document that indicates that you received it from the state police that acknowledges your receipt of this document?
Your Honor, I'm objecting if I can at this
No.
time.
Well, the issue is whether these questions are probative. Did you receive a document from the state police indicating that they sent you a document? The court does not see the probative value of this series of questions. So sustain.
May I see the document that you brought with us, with you today?
And this is the envelope that the document's inside.
All right, I'm going to ask that this be marked for identification.
Well, any document can be marked for identification.
Could you just tell the jury, when did you receive this envelope?
Well, by my time period, so my property evidence label on it is listing that on May 13th, 2020 is when I logged it in as evidence.
Who did you receive it from?
I don't remember exactly the person, but it was a Connecticut State Police crimes detective.
Without actually stating the name right now, is the name of the individual indicated on the outside of that envelope?
Yes,
Did that envelope come from the Western District Major Crime Squad?
I believe it did.
Was it in connection with the case of the disappearance of Jennifer Dulos?
It was in connection with Mr. Dulos's suicide.
And showing you what has been marked as Exhibit PP for identification. You just tell the jury what
I
that
wonder if it's
document
the
is.
suicide note.
This is a receipt that I signed by the state police for the various items that they turned over to me as part of their processing the scene for the suicide or death of the deceased.
Does that receipt include the, whatever is that envelope that you're also holding, which is double Q?
Yes, Exhibit 0390 is listed on this, and it's what their case number or tracking number for evidence listed.
You said 0390, what number?
So it's listed as Exhibit 0390, handwritten note, and that's what their exhibit number also relates to the tag that's on the envelope.
Right. Your Honor, I'm going to ask the witness to open, I'm not going to offer it through this witness, there has to be additional foundation laid, but I'm going to ask that the witness open the envelope so that the chain of custody remains in place. May I do that?
Well, is there going to be a challenge to the chain of custody?
There's not to the chain of custody at all, Your Honor, to the relevance and hearsay nature of this, but not to the chain of custody.
Well, this witness is not going to testify concerning content. So if there's no objection to chain of custody, the envelope need not be open.
Oh.
There's not going to be a challenge to the chain of custody.
Okay. In any event, then I'm going to ask that the envelope remain as an exhibit for identification through this witness. And I do offer exhibit QQ.
Yeah, you can't
Let me just make sure I'm
challenge
talking about the right one. I'm sorry, I'm offering exhibit PP, which is the receipt showing this witness's signature and receipt of that document.
Well, there's more on that document than just information concerning the receipt. So document should be shown to the state.
I gave a copy.
You did, Your Honor, and I'm objecting to this coming in as an exhibit. It's, as Your Honor has indicated, there's more than what is in counsel is offering. I also don't see the relevance of it. It's also a hearsay police report statement. Counsel, the witness has already testified as to its nature. I would object to it coming in.
Well, it's a receipt indicating that this witness received a document from the state police. But it's more than just a receipt. It just says more than state police sent this document on this date and it was received by the Farmington police. It says more than that. So the court is going to sustain the objection.
Well, it does indicate what is in the contents of that exhibit.
Well, that's the concern, counsel. Sustain.
Yeah, this is a problem. Uh-oh.
I have no further questions of this witness.
Nothing further.
Officer, you may step down.
Yeah, the suicide note, but it's all hearsay. It's very self-serving. Yes, Fotis wrote a suicide note saying it was all his fault. Michelle had nothing to do with it. She didn't know what was going on. I'm pretty sure it's Fotis' suicide note. You got to try to get it in. You got to try. President-elect Phil Swift for $2, though, said, I didn't know this was turning into a milk stream. Thank you for the super chat.
Do you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or solemnly and sincerely affirm, as the case may be, that the evidence you shall give concerning this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or upon penalty of perjury?
I do.
Please state your name and spell it for the record.
Sergeant Sean, S-E-A-N, Bailey, B-A-I-L-E-Y.
Spelled the right way.
Sergeant, you may be seated.
Sean to another.
Good afternoon, sir. Would you please tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury where you're currently employed?
The Farmington Police Department,
How long have you been employed there?
19 years.
What is your current position at the department? What are you responsible for?
I'm a patrol supervisor on the day shift.
Over the course of your career, were you a police officer anywhere before you were a police officer in Farmington?
Yes, I was a police officer in Manchester, Connecticut.
As a police officer in Farmington, could you just tell us generally what was your assignment in January of 2020?
In January of 2020, I was
Your Honor, I'm going to object. Relevance.
Well, this was a matter that was preliminarily discussed outside of the presence of the jury. So what the court is going to do at this point, ladies and gentlemen, the court is going to take up legal arguments on a matter. And we'd ask you to just retire to the deliberation room while the court does that. So essentially, court understands this testimony to concern a document allegedly authored by Fotis Dulos, commonly referred to as a suicide note. Is that what this testimony is?
No, Your Honor. This witness is the one who was called to the house because Mr. Dulos was apparently missing from where he was supposed to be. He observed somebody in a vehicle. He observed Mr. Dulos in the vehicle with committing suicide with the hose, vacuum hose attached to the car. He pulled him out with another officer. He called the emergency rescue crew. He was present when at that time, I'll just note that that's when the note was seized. It then went to the state police. It was Detective Kimball who called this witness to go to the house. And in fact, and they found Mr. Dulos there. So the main import of this, even if the court does not end up allowing in the suicide note, which I'll note is marked as 0390 on that receipt, that the circumstances surrounding it surrounding the fact that Mr. Dulos is unavailable is the thrust of this testimony. I would not be asking this witness. I do have one more who actually is the state police individual who actually sees the note and put it in that envelope. He's here as well as the name of the officers on the envelope. Maybe we don't need him. He's the state police detective from the major Western District Major Crime Squad. But if there's no objection as to chain of custody, it may not be necessary. I'll just note he's here. That's Detective Barbero. So this is to get to the background about why Mr. Dulos is unavailable. And I'm going to at least try to make the argument that the court then should allow in the suicide note under the residual hearsay exception. But we would have to get into the background, in which I believe separately is admissible before that note would come in. In other words, I wasn't going to offer it through this witness if there was going to remain an objection.
But death certificate is self-authenticating. That's grounds for anyone to conclude that the witness or Fotis Dulos is unavailable. So the court sees no reason for this testimony.
The witness will
No, I
also
have not.
testify that Anna Curry was present at the time. He spoke with her, the other occupant of the house at the time. I would not even get into what she told him, but it would be to indicate who that individual was. There was testimony from Detective Kimball yesterday about that, and it was in the video. So
The date and manner of Fotis Dulos' death is not relevant. The court, if there was evidence of a death certificate for counsel's purposes to show that Fotis Dulos is unavailable, the court may consider admission of a death certificate. But date and manner and who was present is not relevant. He's unavailable based on the death certificate. Does the state wish to be heard?
Yes, Your Honor. As I have indicated, the state feels as Your Honor said, anything that has to do with the actual manner and cause of circumstances surrounding the suicide is not relevant. The state's concerned with respect to the suicide note, Your Honor, and the use of the note as under the residual exception to the hearsay requirement. If I may be heard on that.
Well, that hasn't been offered yet.
That hasn't been offered. So that's really the crux of the matter, Your Honor.
So the court sees no reason for testimony if the state is willing to accept that there's a death certificate. On the death certificate is the date of death. It's self-authenticated.
Yes.
Well, the second argument I would be making is, although I concede that the Connecticut rule of evidence limits dying declarations in a prosecution side to dying declarations concerning the victims of a crime, I would make the argument under Chambers versus Mississippi that it's unduly restrictive when the defense wishes to offer a dying declaration, which otherwise would be considered have evidence of reliability because it not only was written and found with Mr. Dulos, but refers specifically to the fact that because of the charges he is going to, he's taking this action. So the timing is relevant to that argument, as well as the question of whether or not it needs to come under the residual hearsay exception. The jury at least need to know that it was, that the death was under the circumstances time-wise that it would be material and relevant for the defense. That's my point.
Well, again, the state, as the court understands it, would not object to the admission of a death certificate. Now, the residual exception to the hearsay rule, first, counsel, the court believes is correct in that the dying declaration exception refers to the dying declaration of the victim. So
We're trying to get in it as a dying declaration. Dying declaration is a hearsay exception. And we're going to look up here. Connecticut dying declaration. So in Connecticut, it must be made while they were conscious of his or her impending death. Now, here's the problem. How did he know? When did he write it? Like, was it that day? Did he write it the day before? It's one thing to have a hearsay, like, I'm my dying declaration while you're bleeding out and it's clear you're dying. Whereas you're slipping away. When you write the suicide note, it's not clear. So we're just waiting for that to come out that way. Yeah, it can't come in. It can't. I understand he's trying. You got to try every back door and everything you can fit in there to try to force it in there. He's got to try, but this is yeah. It's not going to work.
In actuality, unavailability would not even apply in this case. However, the court sees the progression of counsel's argument. Secondly, even if the court were to consider the residual exception, the court would use as guidance the dying declaration exception. But the dying declaration exception requires, there has to be indicia of reliability. And so the dying declaration exception requires that the statement had to be so far against penal interest. Let's just use that example. If this were not the defendant in the case, that a person in the declarant's position would not have said it unless he or she believed it to be true. Well, first, if the court is to use that as guidance, the court cannot see, based on the facts of this case.
So real quick, the residual exception, because I know some of you guys probably don't know what that means. And this is from Connecticut. This is their Connecticut's rule 8-9. God, this is weird. So they have residual rule. A statement that is not admissible under any of the foregoing exceptions is admissible if the court determines there's a reasonable necessity for the admission of the statement, and the statement is supported by equivalent guarantees of trustworthiness and reliability that are essential to other evidence admitted under the traditional exceptions. Here's the problem. Is it reasonably necessary? Well, they're trying to offer it to say, look, you know, Michelle didn't do it. I did it all. Okay. But it's not supported by anything else. There's a bunch of issues here. Michelle has made statements that have been used against her. Her actions could lead a jury to have a reasonable inference that she actually committed a crime. So there's no other reliability of trustworthiness. There's no guarantee of it and reliability. There's nothing else they can offer to shows that. So it's a problem that's why they can't get it in this way. Even if they were to try it, like, they're kind of screwed. So I hope that makes sense, guys. Like, this is flailing, but you got to do it. So here we go.
That there's a statement against penal interest because there's no
I
indication.
can't make that argument. I'll be quite frank, Your Honor. It was not against Mr. Dulos' penal interests.
Not against his penal interest.
No, but there are other indicia of reliability, and I would have elicited that. I'll just state for the record so that we're here. This witness, the department received a call.
Yes,
I
this is a
believe he received
catch-all.
a call from Detective Kimball saying that Mr. Fotis was supposed to be in court at that time, and it was shown that he had not left his home. He was sent there for those purposes, only to discover that he was in a running vehicle with the garage door closed. The lights were on. He broke the window together with another officer. They pulled him out. And so the indicia of reliability and the fact that the note was taken on that date goes more to the fact that it was related to the fact that he believed he was going to jail. So in a way, it's literally against his penal interests, although the statement itself exonerates my client. So that's why I'm arguing it as not as a dying declaration, but instead as a residual hearsay, or under a Sixth Amendment right to present a defense exception, which the Connecticut has not yet acknowledged.
Well, again, the court understands, believes counsel's argument. The fact that the statement does not include an admission militates against a finding of trustworthiness. Even if it included an admission, there's no using the guidance of the code concerning statements against penal interest. There's no indication that Fotis Dulos intended to be alive for prosecution. So it could not have been a statement against penal interest because the code contemplates the declarant being alive to face prosecution. He did not intend to face prosecution. So it would not even be a statement against penal interest. It's essentially an effort that
Penal,
counsel may
P-E-N-A-L.
argue is memorialized and trustworthy, but the court sees that it doesn't meet the measure of trustworthiness. There's no admission, and he didn't intend to go to prison. The court wouldn't allow the statement.
All right. In any event, is the court also precluding from the defense putting on the circumstances surrounding the death?
Yes.
Yes. It's all going to be precluded. Because a suicide without any explanation why he did it there's no probative value. There's no probative value at that suicide note. So, yeah, I don't know what you think you're going to get there.
All right. Well, then, I don't have any other questions of this witness.
The jury can come back out.
And then I'm also going to release the Detective Barbero, since there would be no need for him to testify about taking the exhibit and delivering it to the Farmington Police Department.
Thank you.
And then I will offer the death certificate as an exhibit at this time.
Will the counsel stipulate, please?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. I just have one question. Did you become aware at some point that Mr. Dulos had died?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'm going to mark this.
I have no objection.
And what's the
RR.
RR admitted as full?
Elmo. This one. Yeah.
Okay. Well, part of the death certificate shows, like we've heard about Fotis Dulos, Fotis Dulos, Fotis Dulos, Fotis did this, Fotis did that, blah, 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 blah. Well, the jury's going to ask the question, well, where the fuck is Fotis? Why isn't he in trouble? And we haven't heard anything about him being convicted or anything like that. This is to give the jury some questions to look at, like, well, Fotis isn't here. Because otherwise, you know, it's to draw attention away from Michelle, but you have to show the jury why you should look at Fotis. Like, well, Fotis is dead. And they want to say, well, what happened? He committed suicide. Oh, so Fotis committed suicide because he was involved. He definitely did it. And they wanted to go to the step further, saying he committed suicide and tried to save Michelle with the suicide note. I hope that makes some sense.
It was on in there. Oh, it's not my phone. Oh, okay. Thank you.
There's an autofocus button.
Got it. Thank you. And you knew that Mr. Dulos actually died in New York, not in Connecticut.
Yes.
Right. And this is Exhibit RR. It's a copy of the death certificate showing that.
So Fotis died of asphyxiation, carbon monoxide in his garage. He didn't die right away. They took him to a hospital and tried to save him. He died days later. Now, remember, Connecticut's small, so like going to New York City or a hospital in New York is pretty easy to do. So that's why he went to New York. Just remember, Connecticut's really small. A lot of people work in New York City, live in Connecticut. So just want to make sure you guys are aware.
That Mr. Dulos died on the 30th of January of 2020 in Bronx, New York. Signed by the medical examiner of the city of New York. I have no further questions. Thank you.
I have nothing, Your Honor.
Thank you, Sergeant. You may step down.
Your Honor, I don't have any other witnesses ready for today.
Thank you. Will a witness be ready tomorrow at 10 o'clock?
Yes.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes today's session. Please do not discuss the case. Please regard no media reports about the case, and we plan to see you tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock.
That is it. Day 26, day 25 in the bucket. Got day 26 tomorrow and a little bit of 27. So we are going to go ahead and do that. Tomorrow we'll finish up the trial. T-Reese says, dude, I seriously didn't know he was dead. Should be in the description. I talk about Fotis committing suicide. But yeah, he's dead as a doornail. He is no longer with us, and he has not been with us for a long time. But yes, he committed suicide, tried to, and then he died days later. So he escaped. He escaped man's justice. And that evidentiary thing there, Attorney Schemmerhorn knows the score like that one. He knows what's going on, but you still try it anyway. You got to try. But he knows it's probably not going to work. But you go in there confidently, try to make it happen. So that is it, guys. Do you guys have any questions? Because we're gonna take a break for a little bit. I'm gonna eat dinner, and then we'll get started with the laundry deposition. Like I said, it's actually very interesting. Will we see contempt hearing? Yeah, they'll probably do the contempt hearing. I don't know why that wouldn't be shown. He's shooting sworn some arguments, and at the end, you'll not approvingly. Yeah, I do. I respect what he's doing. I think the contempt hearing will be streamed. I don't know why it wouldn't be. It should be. Charlie says, why do you think he suicided? Because he couldn't fucking handle getting caught. He was a little bitch. That's why he did it. So. That's James says, I have a question. I thought this bitch was Greek. Why is she Venezuelan? Well, she's Venezuelan because she's from Venezuela. Fotis was Greek. Fotis was I think he was born in Cyprus because he's a Turkish guy born and speaks Greek. So I think it's like a whole Cyprus thing. Either way. The contempt is marched by a different judge? Huh. There's a separate thing in the law section of Kiwi Farms about this case. Oh, okay, yeah, throw it up in the locals. That'll be great. And if you guys aren't a member, you can be a member for free. Fotis was a yogurt baron. So, all right, guys. Yeah, that is not necessarily Cyprus. I understand, but it is an example. He could have been that. Troconis is Venezuelan. It could be like. I mean, look at her. She's pretty white, so it's like, came from España, Spanish. The judge recuses himself. Don't fucking spoil it. Damn it. So, bruh. But that's probably a good idea for him to recuse himself. Oh, that was a reference to Nick's thread. Okay, my bad. Why not just stream today and take tomorrow off? You know what? We'll do that. Okay, so here's my question, guys. Do you want to watch day 26 right now? Because it's going to be about 4 hours total. We'll get done about midnight. Tomorrow we'll watch day 27. Tomorrow I'll do the laundry deposition. Does that sound better? What do you guys want to do? Well, I don't care. I have to do them either way. So what do you want to do? Come on, chat. Tell me. Yes. Answer the question, chat. All right. Yes, to day 26. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. I have to start up a new stream for that because I try not to run all this shit together because it turns into a fucking mess. So let me get StreamYard going here real quick. Just like talk amongst yourselves for like 10 minutes. I don't know. And maybe 2.0 will come and entertain you guys for a minute. Let me see here. Okay. MIL Troconis Trial -- day 26. Show later. We'll do 8:35. Layer flat. Sorry, I gotta find the image. Gotta make a. Here we go. Sorry, guys. Trial. We'll just knock it all out today. And then we'll finish up the last little bit. That's how we'll do it. You've convinced me, chat. We're going to power through. All right. I'm going to set this up, and then I'll direct you guys all over there and have you guys hang out for 1 minute. Customization, redirect, directed rees. There we go. Okay. You guys are all set on the redirect here. Let me see in case there's anything you just want to say. It's up to you. Good call. No, I know. We'll just do it. I don't believe in your midnight. You don't want me to turn into Nick. Yeah, well. End this stream. Thank you, Sheeple. Yeah, who brought it up? I'm going to put the hollering hog goal up on the bottom. We're going all night, chat. You got to meet the goal. I don't like StreamYard doesn't do that. I think I need like StreamYard OBS or something to do that because this StreamYard does not do that kind of shit. That's a shame. Wants to keep riding that horse. I hear you. Jump on in. Let's do it. Okay, Just Joyce is here for it. All right. We're gonna nipple stream for $1,000 and a little more than that, but yeah. So, all right, guys, I'm gonna switch you over to that one, and I'll see you there in a second. Cool.